Hello everybody, I am Sapni GK. I am a lawyer and a policy researcher from India. It is my absolute pleasure to address you all at the Artificial Intelligence for Information Accessibility 2022 conference. In my brief experience as a technology policy researcher and an observer of technology regulation and development across the globe, something that has often stood out to me is how we often tend to buy into the hype of AI. So definitely over the past few decades, and I believe after the second AI winter of sorts, what we have seen is an increase of programs otherwise possibly just called software. Otherwise they would have probably just been called they wouldn't have come with the heavy baggage of AI, but now that it's something that helps market a lot of AI related or so-called AI related products, but which may or may not really be having those discerning qualities or of beyond obviously the Turing test and etc. Those qualities of being a sophisticated system that can, that is worthy of calling itself AI. So we possibly can't call an Elisa today AI because obviously it's just an algorithmic system that repeats what you say, and hence obviously it was proved that the Turing test might not be the highest test that we are, the most sophisticated test that we have to identify whether or not a system or algorithmic program is AI or not. But I think in the wider world, at the governmental, at the smaller institutional levels, we often fall for the hype of AI when we procure systems that come with this tag of AI to improve upon our realities. So an example that I can give obviously is AI in the education sector. A lot of hyped up products come for the rescue of the people in the quote unquote global south, and we at times, I don't think, are able to discern whether or not these programs would really go that extra mile to help us reach where we want to reach. And in these complex exchanges between governments and people and the multiple stakeholders including the people who develop such programs and the international organizations that help governments procure, that help propagate such so-called AI programs to help in development, we sort of miss out on the fact that we are the majority of the world in terms of human population, at least the majority of the world is really resource scarce, and that resource scarcity sort of prevents us from making assessments that are highly critical and that can see through a lot of this hype. So I think it is in this context that I want to talk about why looking at AI hype in itself and why we should, as the stakeholders of this global system that we are all part of, there should be institutional safeguards that prevent and protect, because I believe post facto course correction may not be as effective as preventing and protecting people from such harmful consequences of decisions which they have not made with 100% information or which they've made in the presence of a great divide within the information that's accessible to them and within the wider information system that they are surrounded by. So it is in this context that I think we should look at consumer privacy, and we should probably also look a step beyond and look at how our consumer rights and privacy, that sphere, can extend into how as the public, or how as the people who consume these AI systems and in turn become fodder for these AI systems, because these are obviously continuously looping around, and it's a so-called quid pro quo that keeps happening. So we must understand that there is protection necessary from an individual consumer perspective, which consumer protection laws and consumer protection safeguards that give. But also we should think about having international systems and other institutional, at the national level also, institutional systems in place that can prevent malicious actors from extracting false profit from, or undeserved profit from people who are most likely making these decisions with minimal information. And a big part of having such institutional design is how we as the humankind look at having, or the necessity of having, intersectional policy. And by intersectional policy in this sphere, I mean that we must be ready to acknowledge and take steps in furthering what the needs of the people of the wider world are, and how inclusivity should be active and not passive, that there must be extra steps taken, and our institutional design tomorrow and going forward, when we are looking at artificial intelligence for, in the information ecosystem, we are looking at artificial intelligence, we should be able to say that we have taken the extra steps and we have taken the best possible steps that were conceivable by us, and we are constantly reinventing ourselves and getting inputs to reinvent our systems so that they are inclusive of the wide range of marginalized people, vulnerable people from across the globe. So that sort of intersectionality at the level of inception, at the level of conception of technology, and right from the level of conception of technology to its implementation, I believe is what will take us further. And that sort of a lens in international policy with respect to development, I believe, is very necessary, which in terms of tech transfers, or in terms of the product or the AI systems that we in the larger world that we get, sort of do not, while in many cases the intent may be very noble, these questions are often not thought through critically. And a lot of critical thought in these questions will also be addressed if we look for accountability in how research happens in these fronts. For example, I believe when research happens on the sphere of AI, on AI systems, and when we as entrepreneurs, as international bodies, or as governments or intergovernmental bodies, when we engage with AI systems, it is important that we critically look at how development of AI itself works, and how we can create a whole lot of impact through the means of funding. Because when the consequences of such technology can have huge political impact on individual and community lives, it is important that we look at such consequences, we try to preempt such consequences, and we prevent such consequences from happening. So when we talk about having accountability. We need to engage critically with entrepreneurs who are building AI, with governments who are using AI and who are funding AI research, with certain individuals, of course, in these systems who hold great amount of power and who have the money power, the financial resources to direct growth of AI in certain ways. These are people, these are organizations, these are establishments with which we need to constantly have these dialogues and ensure that development, and at the end of the day, when we talk about artificial intelligence, for information accessibility, that at the end we should have a system. The ultimate goal is going to be having a system that helps everybody, that does not harm people. And if we have to look at not harming people, I think the 3 points that I would like to wrap this up with is that first, we need to be able to discern AI hype from what is actual programs that we need. And secondly, we create institutional setups at the international and at national levels that can prevent these purely hyped up systems from being used in the larger world to extract profits. And thirdly, we should engage critically with individuals, with corporations, with governments who fund research in AI and who direct the development of such technology. Thank you for having me here. Have a great time at the conference.